Today we are talking about whether or not it's a good idea to hand feed, deliver treats by hand to really fearful dogs. So really quickly, if you don't already know me, my name is Kelly. I own Dogkind, and I specialize in confidence building for these extremely fearful, feral, shutdown dogs. So should we hand feed our dogs? Does that help develop a bond, or might it make our dogs more afraid of us? Hand feeding very fearful dogs, a good way to bond? Question mark. Who is this for? This is for you if you have adopted or are fostering a shy, anxious, fearful, or shut down dog, or if you happen to work with or volunteer with a rescue or a shelter where you're working with fearful dogs, and you wonder if it'll be helpful to feed the dog their meals by hand or feed treats by hand. So, is hand feeding a good idea? Unfortunately, for most questions in behavior, the answer is really it depends, because each of our dogs is such an individual, right? They're their own person, and whether or not something is good for them depends on them. But if you are wondering what is generally good advice, or if you're in the position to make recommendations, like to family members or friends, or maybe if you work in a rescue or volunteer with a rescue or shelter, if you're giving general advice to people, then my recommendation is no, this is not a good idea. Do not recommend that people hand feed their fearful dogs in order to try to develop a bond. Now, why not? There are lots of reasons why hand feeding can go wrong and can actually set us back with our really sensitive dogs rather than actually helping them trust us more and building that bond that we're looking for. Number one, if a dog is a little bit uncomfortable taking a treat from your hand or coming close enough to you to get a treat from you, but they really want the food, that sets up a conflict. So they're conflicting motivations. I want that, but I don't really want to go there. And I have seen multiple times now dogs approach to take a treat from someone, sometimes take the treat first and then bite them because they were too afraid to be that close to the person. So reason number one not to recommend or try hand feeding with a really fearful dog is because they may often be conflicted, and sometimes conflicted dogs bite. Risk number two is that sometimes offering food from your hand can accidentally punish your dog approaching, that behavior of approaching. So if you can imagine, if your dog comes up to you and they're really sensitive and you move your hand toward them to offer a treat, and that kind of spooks them a little, makes them a little uncomfortable, you could accidentally punish that behavior of coming close to you, which would be a real shame with these dogs. It can be really hard to get them started coming close to us in the first place. So that's another good reason to avoid trying to hand feed, at least early on. Another risk is that you can actually accidentally punish taking treats from you if the procedure of or process of reaching out and taking that treat from you was itself aversive to the dog. Even if they eat the treat, that doesn't mean that taking of the treat and eating it was reinforced. It could be the overall effect of the whole interaction could be punishment. And this is especially true, I've seen it many times now, and I totally relate to this, by the way, so don't feel bad if you're doing this or you have done it. But if your dog comes close to you to get a treat and then, you really want to pet them because they're finally coming close to you, so you reach out to give them a little scritch, and that scares them, that kind of jerk back or shrink back from you. That's a reliable way often to punish the dog approaching you or taking treats from you. So is it ever okay? Is it ever okay to hand deliver food to a dog or to a fearful dog? Yes, of course. If your dog is happily approaching you and their body language is loose and relaxed, and if you don't know what that means, check out, I have a workshop, online, self-paced, very short little workshop on body language, which I will link below this video. So what you want to see is the dog approaching happily, their body language being loose and relaxed. They take the food right away. Maybe they continue to stay near you, hoping for another treat. You don't want to see any tense or fearful body language on the flip side of that relaxed body language. And you do want this to be repeatable. If it happens once and then they won't come back to you, even if they looked okay during that previous interaction, something probably wasn't to their liking if they chose not to repeat it. Okay, so how do we know then if it's not okay? How do I know if it's not okay to hand feed my fearful dog? One sign that a dog is kind of unsure or uncomfortable with taking a treat from your hand is if they hesitate. They either hesitate to come all the way up to you or they hesitate to take the food from your hand. If you see that, I would just drop the treat, move your hand away, and then for the next little bit at least, and by that I mean probably days, weeks, or even months, depending on your dog, don't try to get them to eat from your hand, just drop the treat for them. Any fearful body language, this list is not at all exhaustive, but just, for example, common signs of worry are the ears pinned back against the head, tail down or tucked, body lowered close to the ground. Stretching to take food, so that happens when the dog kind of stretches out their neck to reach something with their nose or mouth without moving their legs. And so they're just trying really hard not to move their whole body closer. If your dog comes in and grabs a treat and then quickly moves away from you, that's another good sign that hand feeding is not a good idea right now. They're not comfortable with it, and you could accidentally punish interacting with you. And really the true test is, does your dog become more or less willing to approach you and take treats from you over subsequent days after you tried hand feeding? If they become less willing, or it stays kind of static, I'd probably back off the hand feeding. If they are looking happier and more readily approaching you and more frequently approaching you for food, then on balance, probably they're finding the whole situation to be a positive for them. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the basics this week of why hand feeding is sometimes a bad idea and when it might be a good idea. And next week, I will bring some video examples for us to look at together, and you can review them and decide for yourself, what do I think? Is this dog okay with hand feeding, or should this person not try to hand feed the dog? If you would like videos of your dog taking treats from someone, you or someone else, included in our session next week, you can either post them in the Facebook group, if you're a member, facebook.com/groups/dogkindsupport, or you can email them to me, either email the file to me or say a YouTube link or a Google Drive link or something. And my email is there, info@dogkindtraining.com. So send me a video if you would like to have video of your dog included next week when we talk about analyzing whether or not a particular dog is ready for hand feeding. Okay, if you don't already have your free guide, the free guide to caring for your fearful dog, go to dogkindtraining.com/care. That's a free PDF guide. And that's a good place to start, especially if you're either pretty new to having a fearful dog or you have had one maybe for a little while, but you don't feel like your dog is improving.